Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Rich Longo, and I'll be your host for today's presentation. Thank you for joining us for another Flycast Partners webinar. Today's presentation is on Remedyforce, presented by Kyle Hamilton. Kyle's a software engineer for Flycast Partners with well over 25 years experience in the IT service management space. His career started as a network engineer for Pro Systems and was quickly hired by Network Associates as a professional services consultant, where he delivered ITSM solutions around the world for thousands of customers. Kyle's primary focus is on Itil processes and architecture. His extensive knowledge of CMDB and asset management projects and deals with automation and management solutions such as BMC Client Manager, BMC Discovery. Kyle has been a certified consultant for Front Range, Peregrine Software, BMC Remedyforce, Service Desk Express, BMC Discovery, BMC Client Management, as well as being ITIL certified and a Microsoft MCSE, and many, many other certifications. Before we get started, Kyle, let me introduce our organization, Flycast Partners. We're here to deliver a seriously amazing IT experience. Founded and staffed by personnel that have many years of experience in the IT space, we took the best ideas from these collective experiences and added the best components necessary to grow and become a leading value-added reseller in the North American IT market. We offer best-in-class implementation services and training in ITSM, ITAM, workload automation, capacity optimization, and enterprise service management, all using nothing but ITIL best practice. Our professional services can easily scale up or down in order to meet the IT needs of any customer, regardless of size or complexity or budgetary restrictions. We offer implementation services both on-site and remote, as well as training to help reinforce your company's long-term IT success. Ongoing remote administration support service offerings will enable your organization to focus on those normal day-to-day operations, allowing you to deal with what's going on, what's most important to you in your IT department. We encourage you to give us a call at 844-FLYCAST, that's 844-359-2278, or simply visit our website at www.flycastpartners.com. As you can see, we have someone that you can talk to in our chat during normal business hours, and visit our website for various offerings that we have here at Flycast Partners, whether it be training for the folks that you work with or for yourself, or IT consulting or professional services support. We encourage you to check out our website in regards to some of the webinars we have upcoming in the next couple of weeks and find something that may interest you the most. For example, we have a variety of enterprise service management webinars coming up. Why I Can't Trust You, IT Asset Data Quality Pitfalls and Opportunities, and a conversation on enterprise service management a couple of weeks out. So if you're interested, sign up for yourself or send your friends in that direction. If processes are an issue, definitely take a look at some of our process offerings, from strategic planning workshop to 360 assessment and even continual service improvement. With that being said, I'm going to turn this over to the star of our show today, none other than Kyle Hamilton. Kyle will be our presenter for our Remedyforce webinar, the Modern IT Service Management Platform. Kyle, looks like you're still on mute.
I am here. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you fine, and I see your screen equally as well.
Excellent. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. As Rich mentioned, we're going to be providing an overview of the Remedyforce solution and the Salesforce platform today. So as an opening, for those that aren't familiar at all with Remedyforce, this is a solution from BMC and is born out of a partnership between BMC and Salesforce.com. The partnership with Salesforce was selected because of their leadership position in the platform as a service space. With over 100,000 customers to date, they are the worldwide leader in the platform space, and we wanted to be sure in selecting a platform of choice to build Remedyforce upon that the platform itself wasn't a hindrance or a hurdle to customers, whether it be due to performance and availability, or whether it due to scalability of the platform. And with that partnership, it provides all of the infrastructure to deliver Remedyforce up to your doorstep via the browser. So it doesn't require any hardware or software to be deployed on site. It makes it very easy and extremely quick to deploy, in that you don't have to worry about preparing the environment, standing up database servers, application servers, and the like that would typically be put in place to support a solution like this. So it's something that could be turned up and on in minutes, and immediately being able to dive into the solution to configure it according to your needs, whether that's the forms, whether that's the workflow and the process behind it, branding. You've got complete control over the configuration of the tool, all via a simple browser interface. Now, there are two main portals to Remedyforce. There's both the self-service or customer-facing portal that we're looking at now, and then there's also your staff or IT portal, where those individuals that would be responding to requests or responding to incoming tickets would have visibility into those requests and be able to triage and assign and work those requests internally. So we'll take a look at both of those interfaces briefly today, and I'm going to try and focus on some of the features that are available in Remedyforce that would set it apart from other tools, both from a tool perspective, a solution perspective, as well as the platform itself. So in talking about the self-service or customer portal, you have a very easily configurable interface. This portal can be branded and skinned according to needs, so you can replace the logos, you can replace the graphics, you can change the color schemes, you have complete control over the look and feel of the interface, all with simple drag and drop tools. One of the common themes you'll find throughout Remedyforce is ease of management, ease of administration, so it doesn't require anybody to have any kind of scripting skills or background, nor developer level skill set of any kind, so that anybody that has basic knowledge of the operation of the service desk and operation of your business can be tasked with the administrative responsibilities without having to worry about sending them to class for lengthy times or having to go back to school to learn Java scripting or a similar language to be able to make day-to-day changes to the interface and workflow and things like that without having to call a consultant back out, and be able to do so very quickly and easily. So the content that we're looking at here in the self-service portal, as well as the branding, can all be specific to different groups of individuals. It's not a one-size-fits-all portal. You can have multiple portals servicing different groups within a single organization, maybe department by department, or it could be campuses, if you're in higher ed, vertical, and you're looking to be able to brand it according to college logos and color schemes, or it could be external customers that you're supporting that want to see their brand and their interface unique to them when they log in, so that you can support different groups with one tool, but sufficing for multiple groups that want to have their own look and feel, as well as their own content. So the content you see here in the self-service portal, from the requests that are available to this user, to the knowledge base articles that are available and accessible by this user, can also be specific to the individual logging in, so that not only do they get their own look and feel to the portal, but they get their own content, different sets of knowledge articles, different templates, different forms, depending upon the business unit or the group that's logging in and submitting the request. Now, it provides users the ability to access all this content either by browsing, simply by reviewing the common template library or the self-help library that's been published. They can also use the search feature available to them, so if they want to get a filtered look at that content, then they can type a keyword, they can type a question, and as they begin to enter in that information, it'll give them a filtered look at the requests that have matching content related to that question or topic, as well as articles that are available through the knowledge base, FAQs and how-to articles, so that rather than having to look through potentially thousands of articles, they can find just those that pertain to that topic or that keyword search. Now, For the majority of the requests that users submit, you have two options for users to be able to submit an incident or request. They can be presented with a generic or standard format form, and this can be configured according to your needs in terms of amount of information, the number of fields that you're going to prompt them for. It can be very simple. It could be extremely complex, depending upon what your needs are. In most cases, however, the benefit of having common requests or templates provided is that the user seldom, if ever, would have to deal with the blank form, but instead could have access to pre-built content related to recurring types of requests or common requests you see all the time, so that rather than having to fill in fields manually for themselves, they can select from templates that are available so that whether it's one field or a dozen, that content can be automatically populated. They simply verify that that's what they need, and they can submit, hopefully a vast majority of cases, with a simple single mouse click rather than having to populate a lengthy form. In addition to simple incident templates, you can also create service requests and publish those via catalog and make those available to different groups of users through the self-service portal, so that they can also access content that may be specific to a particular department, whether it's HR or facilities, doesn't have to be just IT, and enable you to create specific forms that are going to prompt the user for details that are relevant for the type of request being made. In the case of HR requests for onboarding an employee or terminating an employee, you can prompt the user for all those relevant details in terms of who are we dealing with, when are they starting, who are they going to report to, and details that will allow us to not only take the information in easily, knowing we've got everything, but having everything captured up front, we can then automate the remainder of the workflow, the fulfillment steps, the approval process, and the follow-up pieces after this form gets submitted, so that you can have a very fluid and automated process that's very consistent as well. Everything's being followed in the exact same manner. You can see how you can prompt them for all kinds of details, what kind of hardware, what kind of software is required, what kind of access do they require. And the forms are intelligent enough to prompt the user for additional details if necessary, so that based on a user's response, they might have additional information that needs to be provided. So some users may need to fill out a dozen or more fields to submit their request. Other users, based on selections, may get through the same form with simply 4 or 5 fields of information being required, all depending upon what they're identifying or what they're telling you so far. And it allows the user not only to submit the request through self-service, but to be able to use this portal to get their own status and updates. So as these requests get submitted, driving the user back to self-service to look for updates in activity, to look at updates in status, so that they can avoid the phone call and avoid the email. That way, whether it's a customer wanting to review the tasks that are outstanding, and what's been completed and what hasn't, whether they want to see if the request has been approved or not, if they're still waiting for approval before anything even begins work. And it also gives the user the ability to communicate with staff related to the request. So if there are details that may be pertinent, users can come back in and make those updates and add that information to the request, so that that information, additional detail, is available to staff that are working on and responding to this request. Now, it's also important to note that users can also be granted the ability to use this portal on behalf of other users. So if you have a need to filter every request incoming through a single point of contact, or you have administrative assistants that are submitting requests and working on behalf of other users, they can be given the authorization to do so, so they can not only submit tickets to the self-service portal for themselves, but be able to act on behalf of other users that have granted them that right, so that you can have a single point of contact for multiple users if that need arises. And also notice on the home page here that there is a scrolling banner at the top that's used for broadcasting information out to the user population. typically around events or outages that are occurring. So you can make the end user aware that you're already alerted to a particular situation and working on it. Maybe you have a potential, uptime or some kind of SLA that you want to publish, letting them know when the service should be back and available, or it could just be simple general information. Much like the rest of the content in the portal, those broadcast messages are directive, meaning that I can send those broadcast messages to a specific individual. I can send it to a group of individuals, or I can broadcast it out to the entire organization, all depending upon need. It's also important to note that options within this console are also configurable. So it's very easy if you're not ready, not wanting to make the ability to approve requests through the portal day one. You're not looking to expose the service catalog day one. It's a simple checkbox to be able to go in and disable or enable these different features. So if you don't want them to have access to be able to approve or reject requests that are designated for them, if you don't want them to have access to that catalog of HR and IT and facilities requests, a simple checkbox can disable this feature until such time that you're ready to provide that content, at which point you can simply check the box, turn it back on, and now you're ready to start using new functionality, whether it's something provided out of the box or whether you are creating additional links and additional options that may be custom to you that link to other internal or intranet portals, or it could be other external support sites, so that you can create this as a portal for all types of requests, not just things related to IT. And if they need to navigate to those other sites or those other support links, then they can be given access directly from here. Now, in addition to the self-service interface, I mentioned there's the staff or IT interface. And this is where users have the ability to see all of the incoming requests presented to them. That's done through this Remedyforce console, and this gives users the ability to access all of the key ITSM modules, whether they're working on and responding to incidents, whether they respond and deal with service requests or problems or changes. All of those different types of records are available to them through a single console. They can simply change the views back and forth as necessary. And then they also have the ability to create or provide filters that will then take that list of requests and then segment it or sort it based on some characteristic or feature, whether it's category, whether it's show me all the high priority issues, show me everything assigned to a particular group like human resources. That way you can have multiple teams working in the same solution, in the same console, without having to dig through and have to review all of everybody else's requests or everybody else's incidents. And it does give the user and the administrator simple ability to configure these forms in the interface as needed. I mentioned it's all very drag and drop. If users want to customize this console for themselves, you want to give them that capability. In an example, they can come in and create for themselves their own set of columns and how those columns need to be displayed, which ones are important, which ones aren't. So if there's non-essential data, if they simply want to reorganize or move the information around, they have the simple ability to go in and make those updates very quickly and easily with a minimum of fuss so that they can see things the way that needed, but you don't have to peg the administrator day after day for those changes, and those users can get the results in seconds. Now, in the case of something where you want to have an automation process and workflow provided for a specific type of request or an incident, it's very easy to go into Remedyforce and also build out those fulfillment steps and the approval processes that get associated with a request, so that as they get submitted, those processes can kick off automatically. Within Remedyforce, it provides a graphical view that will summarize all of the key information for a particular request for you. So they can see everything from the service level targets that are applied to the request and how much time is remaining. They can see the high-level summary details of the request presented over on the right-hand side with the ability to make changes or update or edit that information if they need to update the priority, if they need to reassign this request to a different group or team, or they need to recategorize it. They can go in from this simple one page and make that reassignment or make that update themselves. And they also have the ability to affect changes and updates directly to the ticket, not by changing fields, but perhaps by just adding content or adding work information. So if I have worked on a particular request or issue for a certain period of time, being able to record what I did, how much time I spent, so that that becomes part of the journal and part of an action log that's captured so that it's available for review by anybody that needs to. If you need to communicate with the user, if you need to communicate with staff, you can also do that directly from the ticket so that all of that information also gets recorded and captured so that you don't have to go through cut and paste exercise in order to make sure that information is captured, or in worst case, that you don't lose that information. And again, making sure that those threads of communication to other staff, to the users, are recorded as a part of that journal so that that is also available for review. Now, in this particular scenario, this particular request is being held up for approval. And you'll see I can not only view the approval through the interface, but if given the permission, I can also approve that request directly through this interface as well. So I can decide whether it gets rejected outright or whether it can proceed. And then based on ultimately my decision, the system can then begin to generate the tasks and assignments necessary to fulfill the request, also in an automated manner, so that, again, you have a very consistent process time and time again, and that everything is being created in a consistent manner, and you have a very automated process in that you're not having to manually create these tasks and assignments each and every time. You'll notice, see down my bottom right-hand corner next to the tool tray, I've got those notifications that are going out in the background. So as these tasks get generated, you've got the ability to, create the email notifications, notifying a staff, notifying a customer that these things have been this data has been captured, these tasks have been assigned, so that they can also track and manage the status of their request through that self-service interface. And that now, not only would they be able to see that it's been approved, but those tasks and assignments related to the request will also be visible to them, so they can see the request has been approved and by whom, and then, of course, giving them access to be able to see the individual tasks that have been assigned so that they can, again, track and get their own status and update information right here through self-service. Tasks and requests like this, whether they be HR requests or office moves, or I lost my badge, or I need a new parking space assigned, anything that has a defined or definitive process associated with it, you can easily build that out and automate that through Remedyforce so that you can start driving all types of requests through that self-service interface, making sure it gets assigned to the appropriate group and team, and making sure that the fulfillment steps are automated all the way from the time the user makes the request through approvals all the way to resolution and closure. Now, close this and go back to our console here. It's also important to note that all of the modules in Remedyforce are related in that if you are submitting a request or an incident or a problem, all of the records not only are available through this console, but you can actually relate those records to each other. So if I'm dealing with an incident reported by a customer related to email, as an example, if this is determined that this is part of some broader issue or bigger problem that's affecting multiple users, then you have the ability to take this one incident and then roll that up or relate that to a problem whether it's a problem that needs to be created based on the incidents that have been submitted to date, or whether there's already a known problem or a known error that's existing and being worked on, and you simply want to be able to take the existing incident that you're dealing with and link it or associate it to that problem so it can be reported on. And it can also be visible from those people working on that problem, so they get a good understanding of everybody that's impacted and whether it's impacting a dozen users or hundreds of users, which would ultimately factor into the priority and the urgency of that particular problem. And users have the ability to follow the breadcrumbs as they've linked that to the problem if they need to review the details of the problem itself, what's being done, what are those steps that have been accomplished to date, as well as being able to see all of those other users that may also be impacted by a similar issue. It not only allows you to report and group on those incidents that are related to these problems, but also to be able to treat those incidents as a group when it comes time for making updates, or for those that are still in an opened or in progress status, those that haven't been resolved or closed already, to be able to make those updates simultaneously rather than having to make manual updates to dozens or hundreds of tickets individually. So it provides the option by linking it to a problem to treat those tickets as one, essentially, one problem that affects multiple users. So anything related to, was it resolved? Could we figure out what it was? To ultimately the actual resolution can automatically be appended to all of the attached incidents and updated accordingly, so that every one of those incidents can be closed automatically. They can all be updated with the same content and information, and that way you don't have to go back and potentially have to manually update a bunch of tickets. It also provides the ability to then move this from the problem module into change management. So you'll see again on this details or linked record section, I can also link this problem to a new change request or an existing change request in the same way, so that in this particular scenario, if we know that we need to install a desktop patch to the machines attempting to connect to this mail server, before we simply go and deploy that patch, it may need to be tested, it may need to be approved, it needs to be scheduled and managed accordingly. So by providing access to be able to create and link those change requests, I have the ability to be able to go in and define exactly what it is we're going to do and how we're going to go about it, and of course who's going to be responsible for it and take care of it. Everything from providing the details of why we're doing this and how we're going to go about rolling it out and backing it out if things go south, all the way to being able to see that related information. So you can see in this case what problems are being addressed via the change. I have the ability to browse and select devices out of my CMDB. So the actual software, the actual hardware, the infrastructure devices that are delivering this email service are available to me, so that I can actually select and link a specific asset or assets to the change. So it's undeniable and very clear as to exactly what assets are being modified or updated. If it comes time for somebody to review this change and approve it, they've got access to be able to see what's being addressed and taken care of, as well as what items or assets are being modified. That way, if there is a need to assess this change, you can also look back into the CMDB to look for related data. It could be downstream systems that are going to be impacted by the change. It could just be wanting to get a look at historical information for that device, so that you can see what kind of problems and changes existed out there previously and how they've been dealt with, and what's happened to this device over time, so that you can use this kind of information to provide a higher level of expertise and subject matter expertise around impact analysis and change assessments than you would if you just had to rely on somebody to have this information in their head or have easy access to it That way, everybody being asked to review or assess a change request can be brought up to the same level of information. Now, there's also some side benefits to being able to link assets to incidents, problems, changes, besides being able to see related information in terms of related assets and dependencies. You can also use that CMDB to do things like display what we call collision detection, so that in the case where you have 2 or 3 changes being implemented over the same time frame, dealing with the same device or asset, being able to look at a change request and be flagged that there is a potential conflict due to that schedule and due to those assets. So again, you're not having to rely on somebody to make that determination manually. If you are linking configuration items or assets to the tickets, it'll automatically flag you to the potential issue. It will identify where the points of collision with the other changes are, so that you can then make the phone calls, you can send the emails, you can schedule the meetings that would be needed to determine whether one or both of these changes or all 4 of these changes need to be rescheduled, whether they need to be canceled outright due to something else already being done. And you can then choose how you want to remediate that issue, so that once it's been flagged as a potential collision and you have done your investigation and determined it either needs to be rescheduled or it's not going to be a problem, then you can indicate as such, so that others that maybe need to assess or review this change can be ensured that it's not going to be a potential problem if that time and date arrives and people are both in there at the same time trying to modify the same device with the same piece of software. Now, one thing that is important in terms of incident and problem and change management, of course, is the process that you follow when submitting incidents. How do you get to the point of creating the problem, and how does that going to flow into change management? You can certainly configure and customize your own process, but Remedyforce does provide best practice workflows for all of these modules right out of the box. So especially if you haven't implemented change management to date and you're looking to align to ITIL or best practice methodology, or you're simply looking to do some re-engineering to a current process, streamline it and make it better, these out-of-the-box workflow models provide a wealth of detail and information around these different processes, whether you're going to adopt them wholesale out of the box or whether you want to simply use them as a map to create your own. It gives users the ability to not only see the process at a high level, but to be able to then drill down into it, to understand the exact steps involved in each process, and ultimately how each of those steps can be accomplished by actually providing users working instructions that actually navigate them through the fields and the forms themselves, so that anybody with the ability to read and click through these instructions can navigate these workflows simply by following the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. And as they accomplish each of these steps, they can simply move on with the next step after answering yes, no blocks or questions. So this provides a great way to roll out incident, problem, change management, release management for customers that haven't got a well-defined or documented process to date, or you're looking to do some of that re-engineering. And those workflows are available for all of the processes you see in the exact same manner right here on the screen. So a great way to engage in a new process you're looking to roll out and have everything from day one, from not only the process itself, but you'll notice it provides everything from a glossary of terms that are used throughout the model. So users have questions related to what's an SLA mean, or what is a service outage, and easily take them directly to a definition and explain exactly what it is and what that information represents. All the way to definitions of roles and responsibilities that are called out within those process models. So very valuable and useful tool when you come time to implement incident, problem, change, release management, especially if you're looking to align to best practice. Now, I also wanted to mention, in terms of some of the platform features beyond Service Desk, incident, problem, change management, And you're going to find those capabilities in some form or fashion in just about every help desk and service desk tool available. What separates Remedyforce and the Salesforce platform is, in many cases, the platform itself. And the platform provides enterprise capabilities in that, number one, you don't have just one environment, and you have multiple environments available to you. Remedyforce provides 25 different sandboxes for you to be able to play around in. So you can easily take your Remedyforce environment, copy it 25 times, 25 different people playing around, hammering away without impacting production. So you can go in, you can test your forms, you can brief skin or brand the self-service portal, you can build those approval workflows in your forms and things like that in a sandbox environment and simply move those into production once you've got them fully tested and fleshed out. That way, you don't have to worry about any kind of downtime or impact, and you can have that test and prod and dev environment, or as many as you need, that can be stood up easily and provide users the ability to log in and make changes to those sandbox environments without any impact across the board. And those can be stood up, deleted, and refreshed as needed. In addition to having these sandboxes to play around in, one of the nice uses for these sandboxes is when customers are looking to expand the use of the platform beyond service desk, or they're looking to add additional capability to integrate in some way, whether it be integrating with some purchasing and receiving process, or to have the tasks and assignments generated in Remedyforce updating somebody's project timetable and resource allocations and project management. You have the option to be able to leverage this instance on Salesforce, not only for the service desk, but maybe for other needs as well. And as I mentioned, it could be budgeting and purchasing. You need to create POs and invoices, and so you'll find there's dedicated applications available that are pre-configured so that you can simply snap these in. And if I needed to create a purchase order or an invoice, having all the content to be able to do so in minutes, and then being able to take this and weave this into my asset management or my management of the CMDB and Remedyforce. So as things are purchased and approved, perhaps through the budgeting and purchasing application, then as they're received, they automatically get added into my database so that I can see what's on hand and available for deployment. Or as mentioned, it could be a project management tool where users are responsible for tracking budgets and managing timelines, and you want to make sure that the tasks and assignments associated with the project are being updated based on maybe the actions and time that are being input into Remedyforce, so that as users go into those tasks and they input that they spent 30 minutes or they worked on this record, this particular request for an hour, right, that we can update which tasks are opened and completed. We can update the time and expenses based on that work effort, and perhaps provide some automation to be able to manage projects. So all of this comes from what's referred to as the App Exchange, and this is their business focus marketplace for Salesforce. So this is a marketplace that provides over 4,000 apps. You can see everything from customer service and marketing applications to finance and ERP. Many of these are free. You'll see that they're typically called out if they are. Some of them have additional licensing fees depending upon depth of functionality and level of complexity typically. But this provides customers option to, do we build something out ourselves? Do we take the platform and Remedyforce, and do we start building a purchasing module and adding an invoice form and doing that inside of Remedyforce? Or do we look to the App Exchange and perhaps find something pre-built off the shelf that would suffice or service a particular requirement, and be able to have something plugged in and ready, up and running in an hour or two or a day, versus having to spend days or weeks or more if you had to craft something from scratch. So a lot of great functionalities available in here, and much of it is focused not just on other functional areas, but integrations and interfaces to everything from Office 365 to Jira bug tracking. So when it comes time to integrate Remedyforce into your existing on-premises environment or other cloud platforms, AWS, Azure. You've got pre-built integrations in here that you can leverage as well so that you can speed up that integration process. The last thing I wanted to mention in terms of content for Remedyforce is also our smart practices content. And this is available. Look at the Remedyforce administrative launchpad here. Under what's called content management, and it provides the ability for you to be able to go in and browse the smart practices content and simply download it and install it. So much like we talked about with the App Exchange, this is very similar, only this site for smart practices content is available to users directly through the Remedyforce interface so that, get there, there we go. So that you can simply go and browse the HR, IT, and facilities. These are the three that have been created to date. They're in process working on others. And these are zip files that you simply download from our communities page, install it into Remedyforce, and it provides everything from, you can see, pre-built templates to list of categories to those service requests in the service catalog. So the HR content, that new hire request form we looked at, actually started out of that HR practices content. I made a few edits and changes, but essentially 99% of that content you saw in terms of the approvals and the workflow is pre-built and out of the box. So if you're looking to do something quickly and easily around HR practices, this is a great way to, again, simply have something downloaded and installed in minutes rather than having to create those templates, create those processes, and define all of that yourself. So a lot of great tools and resources are available to make this and be able to leverage this platform for far beyond, simple service desk and simple IT, but to be able to branch out into those other key areas. Now, I know we've got about 5 minutes. I wanted to make sure and left just a little bit of time in case, Rich, we've got any questions that have come up via the Q&A or chat panel, or any questions anybody has to this point.
I don't see any questions at all so far, so if anybody has any questions, please go ahead and put them in the Q&A section of this webinar, and we'll go ahead and try to answer what we can here.
And while we're waiting on that, I'll mention one other feature that's seldomly talked about, but very important, and that's the fact that every customer of Remedyforce receives what's referred to as a customer success manager, and they manage a group of accounts that they're responsible for doing nothing but making sure that those customers are happy and satisfied with their use and purchase of Remedyforce. And to that end, the product development team has actually built a direct interface to that customer service manager right here on your dashboard. So this is essentially a direct line, a hotline to that CSM. And it provides you the ability through these response sliders to indicate, where your satisfaction or dissatisfaction lies. You can, provide more focused comments. And if you want to speak with that customer support or success manager, simply let them know. And I don't do this anymore because if you click submit, you actually receive a call back within 30 seconds usually. It hooks that line up. You're on the phone with that success manager, letting them know exactly what the issues are. They can help you walk something through to support, as well as make sure to get any non-technical issues addressed. So a great way to be able to interface with somebody that's focused specifically on making sure that your experience is a good one and that you're happy with your product, and that way you've got a direct line to be able to open up communication with them at any time. Any questions so far, Rich?
None. It doesn't look like we have any questions from the audience. And folks, well, hang on 1 second. Here's one. Here's one just came in. Here, okay. Let's read this for you. The last second here. I can pull it up. It's not letting me read it. That's weird. Let's see here. Oh, that's odd.
Can't get to it. You know what? Let me see if I can on my side. I don't know.
Oh, here it goes. Can you go over the Itil Process Models is what they're asking for. Jacqueline Holder is asking, can you go over the Itil Process Models?
Yeah, the Itil Process Models are what we looked at a while ago. So these are your Itil Process Models here, from incident to problem to change management to release. All of those that are available, on that model overview page here are provided out of the box. So you can start at this level, and if you're interested in any one of these processes, say change management or release management, just click on it, and it takes you to the process. And over here on the left-hand side, it does everything from show you the process flow to a description of the process and what it's used for, mission statements, the scope of the process, the roles that are involved in the process. It actually breaks down the forms, so you can actually go through and take a look at the form, and it actually shows you these are representation of every field on the form, along with a definition or description of the content to be provided in that field. So again, you have, and the glossary, so that you have the ability to wholesale to be able to say, this is the way, we're going to roll out our release management process. All the forms match this process, all the workflow, et cetera, so that you can take this and roll this out day one and utilize this as is. Or as mentioned, you could use it as a reference point if you're looking to roll out or build your own.
Well, Kyle, it looks like they're letting us off easy today. So I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to present for us on Remedyforce, the modern IT service management platform. And thanks to all those of you that took time out of your day in your IT department to spend with us learning about Remedyforce. With that being said, I want to wish all of you a great week. And until our next presentation, we'll see you then.
Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.
Have a good one. Bye.